Wow, the start of this vlog is me editing the last one. Wow. Vlogception, bro. Hello. Just got back from a walk, which is like, holy crap, is it cold? Oh my lord. Like, it is -20, feels like -29 out there. It's effing cold. And yeah, it's the kind of cold that when you walk, it hurts your face, and then you get home, and then you can't walk for a while because your body is like, no, bitch, we hate you. And you're like, okay, body, that's rude. So now I've recovered from that, obviously. Doing better now. I've de-thawed and my body's back to responding to things. But yes, I'm going to do a little bit more and try to finish The Forbidden Visions of Lucius Galloway, as I was almost finished that at the end of last week's vlog. Like, I have about a few hours left in it, but that's all. And then I started, while I was going for a walk, I started the audiobook for the novelization of Alien 3, which is Alien Great. By the great Alan Dean Foster, because it would not feel like a proper novelization November if I did not have at least one novelization from our king, Alan Dean Foster. Boop boop boop. Talk to you later. You a good sport, Loomis. Okay, so I did just finish this, The Forbidden Visions of Lucius Galloway. Funnily enough, within 1 month, I've read 2 books that have the name Lucius in the title, which is just weird. The other one was, of course, Lucius the Eternal, which is a Warhammer book. Anyways, this is an Arkham Horror book, and I never read anything by this author, Carrie Harris, but I definitely want to read more of her stuff. And of course, I can't escape Warhammer, because like as soon as like, whoa, what else has Carrie Harris done? And I'm like, oh, she's done like some Warhammer short stories, and I want to go find those and read those because she's a great writer. This is fun because, this is playing off of vibes and mythos that were introduced in H.P. Lovecraft's stories. But as everyone knows, H.P. Lovecraft was a very problematic man. He was very racist, and he didn't have a lot of great women characters. And this book is really fun because it tries to take like a serious look at what the people of color, what it was like being a person of color and a woman back in these times. So our main character is a queer black man who is in his 60s, and he is hired. He has like a few published poetry collections, and he goes to get this job at Harvard to do some interpretations of a newly uncovered secret manuscript and try to solve it, because it's written in a very like weird poet verse type thing, and it's him kind of like dissecting this weird eldritch material, and he is having these very vivid dreams of this underwater city that he's kind of like walking around, and there's something going on in the underwater city, and the dreams have come up with reality, and like this is a lot about dream logic and how a lot of reality can kind of bend depending on the scenario, and not everything that occurs is as it seems. And I just really liked it. And it's funny because right now there's been some very silly things online about people trying to argue about whether or not reading is inherently political and you shouldn't politicize reading, whereas this book takes the really appropriate like point that yes, obviously it's freaking political. Literally back in the 1920s, which is when this book is set, like women and people of color are not able to use some of these big academic libraries or access these spaces, and they had to fight to get usage of like libraries and to be taken seriously in the academic space. And it's very clear that you reading is 100% political, and every book you read does have some level of political nature to it, because there is the underlying approach to what is the story about, who's the enemies of the story, what is the conflict of the story, who are the people who are inside the story. And I know what people like oftentimes read for fun, which of course is awesome. You don't have to like read for serious matters only. You can read for entertainment and enjoyment. But you being able to read and what you are reading is still political because it's like inherently that's how our world works. And it's very weird to see people try to be like, you shouldn't politicize things. And it's like, no, like you had to fight to be able to get into that library. Not me, obviously. Fucking stupid ass white dudes could go in anywhere at any time. But um, people who aren't us had to fight for it. And, that's a political action they had to do in order to be respected in these communities. And yeah, I just thought this was a really cool, really great, well done book with some really great character writing in it. There was a big twist at the end where I was kind of like disappointed, and I'm still kind of conflicted on it because it was like happened with a character I really liked. But also I think it does work and makes it all interesting. It's hard to pick. So I'm gonna kind of like sit on that for a little bit, but I do think overall I did quite enjoy this book. I thought this was a pretty excellent book, and having most of our cast be people who are over middle age, and to get a very unique perspective because a lot of pulpy stories are very much focused upon young characters, and things that happen to young people, where it's very interesting to read about some pulpy stuff that happens to, somebody who is in their 60s. And it's just kind of like a fun, interesting angle to take. And yeah, I just thought this was a great book. So I think I'm just I'm just feeling the cold. So I think I'm going to read and start Ice Guard by Stephen Lyons. Now, I am almost certainly just going to be like, this is not a very long book, and I basically just want to read something that's cold. And yeah, I know it's Warhammer, and I've always freaking reading Warhammer, but, whatever, bro. Whatever, bro. This one was on my TBR last year, and I actually want to get to it this time, so. But before I get to that, I'm going to actually read one more of the short stories from On the Shoulders of Giants. Okay, talk to you later. Bye. I have just survived the Great Kitty Cold War, aka it's 7 a.m. when I give them food, which is a normal time to do so. And all I had to do is fall back to sleep at like 5 a.m., even though they were meowing a bunch, which thank God I did. Back up. As you can see, the Great Kitty Civil War has gotten violent. But it's 7 a.m. This is when I want to actually transition all of their feeding to. Ideally, it would be 8 a.m., but I don't live in a fairy world. Although, I don't know, it would sound fun. Some of those books, apparently the fairies get it on. Anyways, but I don't live there. So yes, 7 a.m. Waking up in the morning. Gotta be fresh, gotta go downstairs. I was thinking Rebecca Black's Friday. It's Tuesday. Anyways, I won. Oh, look at the cutie. Dun-dun-dun. Dun-dun-dun. Oh no, who's coming to get him? There's little Johnny about to pull a full Jack Torrance and be like, Johnny. What are you gonna do, Johnny? You gonna snuggle with Loomis? Or are you gonna cause mischief? No, it's just gonna be cute. That's okay. Such is okay. And yeah, I need to make the bed, but Loomis is actually being cute right now and quiet, and he's all snug and roasted. So like, I don't wanna mess with him right now. Oh, look at little Johnny, he's laying there too. It's fucking cold. It's fucking cold. But I live. Do I laugh? No. Do I love? No. But I do live. So there you go. I guess I'm gonna start reading and escape to a world where it's also cold. Because that's what I like to do. I like when it's cold to then be like, haha, I'm cold, but it's thematic now. Haha. I don't know. I live a weird life. Alright, talk to you later. Aw, look at how precious they are. Yeah, it's freaking 4 p.m. and I still haven't been able to make my bed because the kitty has been chilling on it no matter what time of day. But they're so cute. They're so cute. They're so cute. I think I'm probably gonna finish this today, which is a surprise. But I was thinking about going to the movies, but it's kind of snowing and like I'm feeling kind of crappy, so I'm just gonna lose myself in this book. We are now entering the second phase of this kitty cat Cold War. It's called Wet Food. And when are we getting it? Claude, it's 6:30 p.m. right now. And Claude is like, give me the wet food, man. He goes going, meow, meow, meow. Watch, if I get up right now, he's going to get up. Oh, if I start looking over here, he's going to go. Wait. Okay. Oh. See, I told you. He's in the darkness. I should have turned on lights before I did this. But yeah, now every time I get up, he wants wet food. But if I give it to him now, it's like 6:30 p.m. If I give it to him now, then he's gonna be like, oh, it's 4 a.m., bitch. Wake up and give me my normal food. But today, I wait till 7 a.m. to give him the food. So I'm hoping if I wait until like 10 p.m. to give him the wet food tonight, he'll be like, I have been satiated, and I will let you sleep for a little bit longer tomorrow. We will see. We will see. This is the battle of the Cold War. I will update you when I give in and give him his food. I did eventually cave at 9 p.m., which is much later than it has been. So usually it's been at 7 p.m., so I'm hoping eating this now will then make it so that, like, they don't bother me until, like, at least 7 a.m. tomorrow, which is probably unlikely. Because Claude is, like, I swear to God, a living fucking clock. He knows exactly when everything happens. Mommy, what's wrong? He's okay. He's okay. But progress is being made. Okay, so somehow I read this entire book today. I'm kind of surprised myself. It was like about 300 pages, and yeah, this is obviously a Warhammer 40,000 novel. I have really liked other books that this author has written. I think Steve Lyons has done quite a few good books. I especially like his Krieg books, which I think have been excellent so far. I haven't read his latest one, The Siege of Rax, but this is obviously a book from earlier in his career. This is from 2008, and the books that I've read were like much farther along. Although I'm not sure when Dead Man Walking was. That one, I do think that one was like about 2019-ish. But anyways, regardless, this was a book that I think had like really good setup. Like I feel like the first half of this book was really, really, really good. And I almost wonder if he kind of got cut with some pages that he wanted to do, because like I feel like there was maybe another 50 pages you could have done in this book that could really have kind of wrapped up and tied up some character stories, because there was really good setup for this squad who, like, there's this planet that's about to be completely annihilated because it has been taken over by the forces of chaos. But there is this guy who was captured who is like a very important member of the church. So the small group of people have to go and rescue this man in a very dangerous operation. And if they don't get to him in time, everyone dies. So there's like a ticking time clock, and they're trying to get this guy and get him off world as the entire world is kind of crumbling. And it's all really kind of going bad for the planet. And it's really entertaining for like quite a bit of it. And I even think the whole book is fun. Like it was a good read. It's just there are character beats that are kind of set up where you're kind of like, whoa, what are these characters gonna like do? Like how are they gonna get through some of this stuff, and like how is this gonna play into the plot later on? And it seems like he kind of sidesteps some of those character beats. While also, like, I think he's a little bit too friendly to his main cast. A lot more people survive than I would have expected. And there are like characters who I think that, you could have probably cut near the end of this book. And the few characters that he does kill, I think actually would have been more interesting to not kill, and other characters would have been better to take out. But regardless, I still had a good time with it. It was just one of those books where I wanted a little bit more at the end because I actually did find myself pretty invested in a lot of these characters. And the plot kind of took over for that last 100 pages, where it was much more about, the end of the mission, and it was action packed and was entertaining. But, I kind of wanted a little bit more. And I think it would have been because, like, there was only like one Chaos Space Marine here, and you don't get a name. I wish he got a name because he's like running around throughout the entire book, and all of his stuff is a blast because like these like humans are trying to deal with this like unstoppable killing machine coming after them. But the problem is he doesn't actually kill anyone. He like survives a lot, and you're like, man, you probably should have had him like take somebody out because I think it would have made everything a little bit more like fast paced and like a little more scary. Because there's multiple times when he has a hold of someone, and I'm like, he would have just killed them. Like in other books, like that person would have just been dead. So I was a little bit surprised because like this is like a Warhammer novel, and it's kind of like no one is supposed to be safe in these books normally, and like this felt like it was a little bit more of like a more conventional sci-fi novel where everyone kind of makes it out. And it was an entertaining read, and I think it still did highlight what I like about people who are tackling this universe, where it tackled a lot of the hypocrisy and a lot of the horrible, horrible things that happen if you live in the Imperium. These guys are not all good guys, and most of them are not good guys, especially the leader who does some very questionable things. And there are like these people who are like mutated who are actually very nice and they want to help, but like they're basically like these people are like, no, if you're a mutant you have to die. And like they don't do as much with that I would have wanted, but I still do like that elements that did kind of sneak in. And yeah, no, I thought this was a fun read. Not one of my favorites Warhammer books, though, to be fair, but yeah, no, a fun read. We made it to 7:15 a.m. before I gave the food out, although it was a struggle because he was meowing the entire time. But then I fell asleep, and then he kept meowing, and then I had a nightmare that Kelsey was mad at me. I don't know why. I think it's because he was doing that meow. The grumpy feed me meow. And then I was just like, oh, Kelsey's pissed at me in this nightmare. So there you go. That's the thing that happened. Oh shit, I didn't mean to make this a video, but hey, it's Johnny, he's eating. Wow. This is a vlog clip that wasn't meant to be. Bye-bye. Got paid. Got a month full of groceries. So these are groceries that are going to last me the month for most of it, hopefully. And now I'm back to being broke again. Well, look, it's kind of dark, but it's not that dark. That means it's only like 5:30, and I've got a book update because I finished an audiobook. Wow, what do you think, Claude? Who's meowing over here for no discernible reason? What? What? Whatever, Claude. So I just finished the novelization for Alien 3 by Alan Dean Foster. It would not have been a proper novelization November had I not got my old pal Alan Dean, the master of novelizations, in. And had I not got an Alien book in. That would have also been pretty sad. So I was very glad to kind of get to that. And I really, really liked it. I feel like the novelizations for both Alien and Aliens are talked about more than the novelization for Alien 3. And I'm here to tell you, like, I think this was probably the best version of Alien 3. So Alien and Aliens, both of them are great books. Both of them are great reads, great novelizations. But both really work in tandem with really complete films. Whereas, the Alien 3, I love Alien 3, especially the assembly cut versus the theatrical. But that was a movie that went through development hell. So there was a lot of things that got changed around and were altered from script to screen. And there were so many different versions of Alien 3 written as far as scripts go that got changed around and little bits were taken from here and there. And because of all of the people who were trying to get their hands in the pie of Alien 3, there are elements of that film that don't entirely hold up no matter what version of the cut you're using. For example, the alien. So in the assembly cut, the alien comes from an ox. And also, that's what happens here in this version of the script that Alan Dean Foster was working off of was the Ox script. Now, if you watch the assembly cut, it's still very clearly in all the effect shots a dog alien, whereas this, it really takes full advantage of it coming from an ox. It's a little bit bigger and more meaner, and it has like a little bit more like straight up power to it. It's like its moves are a little bit more powerful, and it's a bit bulkier, and it acts a little bit like an ox. And that's something that's not in the assembly cut because they didn't redo the effects. You know what I mean? The effects were only really done once. So yeah, it was just a really, really great read. Also, Alan Dean Foster just makes all of these elements of the mind work really, really well. I did listen to this on audio, and I thought it was a brilliant audiobook narration because there's a lot of really good back and forth dialogue in this book that really captured the spirit of like Ellen, and the ways that she is interacting with people in this movie is very kind of dry. And yeah, I just really, really liked it. Like the all the dialogue was good, the world building was excellent. You really got the full understanding of how this prison planet worked and all the ins and outs of it. So if you're even a little bit of a fan of Alien 3, you definitely should check out the novelization. It was excellent. So now, for the rest of the evening, I shall be eating this cat. Oh no. Also, Jonesy was mentioned in novelization. He obviously doesn't appear because he's not in Alien 3, but he's mentioned. So now I'm going to read more of this weird-ass Batman Returns novelization. So I'll update you guys in a little bit as I read this. Talk to you later. I'm so, my entire brand is so hardcore novelizations now. They're putting me on the back of them. I need a lawyer. I mean, I did not give them permission to post this photo of me on the back of this Batman Returns novelization from 1992 that was made and released before I was born by like a few months. How did they know that this is how I would look in the future? And they sent a photo of me back in time to put upon this novelization. That's me. So it is Thursday evening, and I have finished Batman Returns, the movie novelization. I took a little bit longer with this book than I should. I probably should have finished this, probably 3 hours ago, but whatever. I was working my way slowly through it while doing other things. This was a blast. This book is also incredibly unhinged. I know that the movie is, incredibly unhinged, but, the novelization goes even farther to some of the film's more, let me say, controversial elements. Like, this book is real horny, and you're like, damn. Already Batman Returns is probably the most, thirsty Batman movie, but, this novelization was very unhinged in that regard. And I'm like, oh my god, the Penguin sounds like a Richard Lehman character, my lord. But, other than that, it follows the movie pretty closely. Other than there's just like little bits here and there that kind of, expand upon, the movie, as you would expect with the movie novelization. And, occasionally elements I think go like a little bit like, oh wow, I didn't think you could say that, because like I thought this was a PG movie, but like Batman's calling people bitch and stuff like that. And like at one point someone, anyways, I'm not gonna say what they say in this book because it's that raunchy. But anyways, and Penguin is, oh my goodness, somebody needs to freaking hose that guy off with a fire hose, because woof, bonk, go to horny jail. My God, man, you unhinged. But yeah, this was very fun, and of course it ended on Christmas, so it went with my Christmas reading vibes. Yeah, so that was interesting. I did also finish I also started the next book in the Dragonlance series, which was Dragons of a Winter Night. And I am enjoying that so far. I've only been about an hour in though, so I'm not super far into that one yet. So hopefully I'll finish that in this vlog, but if not, I'll just finish it, the next fucking time I do a vlog, which will be whenever, bro. I am a little bit sad tonight. Oh, look at Loomis. He's like, wow. Look at me. Look at me. But I am a little bit sad because tomorrow, where is Johnny? Little Johnny, where is he? Alright, there's Nami, Loomis, Claude, Wisteria, Johnny. Oh, wow. What the hell? Did you see that? He literally ran out of nowhere. Anyways, Johnny is going to PetSmart tomorrow to be adopted. Aw, I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you, buddy. I'm gonna miss you, baby. He's only been here for a little bit, but he was the sweetest cat. He would just sleep right next to me and everything, and he was so sweet. Yeah, I'm gonna miss this little turd. He's gonna miss you, little turdy. Yeah. But that's what happens when you foster cats. You have to say goodbye. More often than you'd like to, but anyways, yeah, so it's been a pretty good evening. Lots of good cuddles, a very funny, silly book, and yeah, having a good time. I don't know what I'll read next. I might read a little bit of something before I go to bed, but I'll update you whenever that happens. Y'all, look at these cuties. Look at these cuties. Oh my god. Oh my god, you guys love each other. Kiss. Kiss. Johnny, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Johnny. No, Johnny, no. Don't run away. Johnny, you're going to be adopted, my friend. You're going to the PetSmart. He's like, no, please, sir. Please, let me stay here forever. I'm sorry, Johnny. I can't. I just can't. I'm sorry. No, you're not going in there. Because if you go under the bed, then I'll never be able to find you. Okay. Sorry, Johnny. I know. We're going to go say goodbye to everybody. Loomis, you want to say goodbye to Johnny? He's on the way. Oh, please don't cry. Don't cry, young man. I love you. You'll be adopted super quick. You ladies want to say goodbye? It's Johnny. Okay, let's just go. I feel bad, Johnny. I'm going to miss you dearly. New hell of a boss. Let's go. That episode was amazing. That was so good. Oh my gosh, now I'm sad. Well, today I'm watching this very nice video, which is reviewing beers that I will never drink, because they're only in the UK, but the Warhammer beers don't ask questions. I make decisions as to how to spend my free time, and this is one of them. This video is great. This is a good fun video, but it's weird that I'm watching this. I did just learn that not all beer is vegetarian, which has put in probably a question about how well I've been a vegetarian for the last 5 years. Oh no. Apparently they use the reason why this one's so clear is that there's a specific type of fish like a fish lining that they put in there to make it look clearer. So it's actually not vegetarian. And I'm like, oh my god, I just learned that from this video. And now I'm like, well, I've got to do some research, I guess. Whoops. Oh, he's a good girl. So, I just finished Dragons of Winter Night, which is the second book in the Dragonlance original trilogy. And yeah, that was really interesting. So, since it's the second book in like a fantasy series, like it's hard to review as a book. Just because, when you're part of a series, it's like, you don't really want to spoil anything from other parts of the books. But I will say that it makes a very interesting decision that I think actually helps and would be actually quite useful in many fantasy series, especially fantasy series that kind of get down in the weeds about showcasing every single little thing. Like for example, Game of Thrones. And like Game of Thrones like doesn't have an ending because George R. R. Martin is obsessed with detailing every small little thing over and over and over again. Whereas in the Dragonlance series, what happens is the plot is always moving forward. So in this one, the main crew is split up. So there's like a various things that happen that split the party up. And when you are with one batch of characters and then you hop back to the other batch of characters, like in the next book or like after a few chapters, the story doesn't go back to say what they were doing during that time. It hops to where they are at now and kind of briefly details what they just did. And like sometimes it's like things that were like pretty substantial that happened. And like what's interesting is apparently the writers they revisited the series like in like the I think it was like early 2000s, because there's like this big thing with Dragonlance where like because it's like a D&D property, but it was really like forwarded and created by like a single duo of writers, and they had a falling out with Wizards of the Coast, and then they were gone from the series for a while, and the series still kind of continued with other writers, but then they came back to the series. And one of the things that they did when they came back to the series is they kind of filled in some of the gaps they made intentionally in this book, which I think is interesting. It will be interesting to kind of revisit that series, because this book starts with like the idea that, from autumn to winter, even when as the first book is autumn, so even at the end of the first book you don't see it, but the plot continues until the next book gets released. And I think that's really interesting because there are things that happened in the beginning of this book where I'm like, when did they recover this thing? Like, when did that happen? And it's like, oh, that I didn't forget or miss something from the last book. It was just this thing happened. And since it's like a D&D thing, like I'm not sure if they were back in the day, they were like modules where you could play through the gaps in the story like with your friends or whatever, because that might be what it was originally, and then they went back to like make it for a novel in the early 2000s. I'm not exactly sure. I have to do some research, but I thought it's very interesting from a plot perspective, because like you can kind of understand that it's like, well, I mean, things that were important happened, but like they were not the main focus of where the story goes. And this book also just kind of like skips over a lot of the bigger action sequences, which I think is really interesting, because there's like a huge action sequence that happens off page, but it's done in a way that like matters because your main characters are not in that fight. They make a decision to stay out of that big battle, and the consequences of that is them waiting to hear like what happens in that battle. And it's like very much more of a character focused book. which I just think is it very interesting from a fantasy series where it's not as much about these big epic battles. There are a few really cool battle sequences, but for the most part, it is about these very specific characters and the character growth and how those characters make decisions that affect the world. And I just think that's really interesting. There's some characters that I'm like, what is the deal with them? There's like this weird old wizard who I thought died in the last book, and like he very clearly died in the last book, but then he kind of comes back here. And like you would think that wasn't a spoiler, but he's a weird character who just shows up in the first book, and he's a weird character who just shows up again in this book. Like, I'm not talking like Gandalf the Grey to Gandalf the White. This is just a random ass old dude who like talks in a way that he knows a little bit more, and he like says some references to almost things that sounds like it's almost like the real world he's referencing, which is just interesting. So I don't know what's going on with this character, but he does a lot of interesting stuff in this book, and you're kind of always kind of left guessing as to what his deal is. So like I can't really spoil anything about him because I don't feel like I know what his deal is. So he's interesting, but I don't know, Fizbing or whatever. That's his name. But then he also forgets his name, and I don't think that is his actual name. I think he just said it once, and that was his. Anyways, I don't know what's going on with that character. We will find out. But yeah, no, I really liked it. I'm having a good time with it. Really interested to see what the final book is like, and I'm always like, because like right now I kind of want to dive into it right away, but I'm also like I kind of want to wait a few months because like I feel like that's more true to the book. Because like I imagine when I pick up with the third book, there'll be something that happens in the gap that would have happened realistically throughout the time back gap I take from when I read the next one. So like I'm kind of hoping to read the next one in February, if I can hold off, because like I remember, because I did have to like revisit some like of the Wikipedia a little bit to refamiliarize myself with certain elements of the plot. When I hopped into this one, especially because I had thought I had forgot bigger swaths and missed something substantial, but that was what actually was the plot was just continuing. You just didn't see it at the time. So yeah, no, that was really interesting, and I am gonna try my hardest to actually wait to read that final one. It's not even really the final one because I think it's like the final one for this main story, but there's like one more with the writers. Anyways, I'll figure out how it's gonna go because yeah, it's gonna be interesting. There's a lot to wrap up and there's a lot to bring together, and I hope it does it satisfying. But yeah, no, I really liked it. It was very much a cold book, and there was a lot of winter elements to it, and look at Nami. What do you? Anyways, I accidentally stopped recording there. I didn't mean to do that, but whatevs. I zoomed in on her and I accidentally stopped recording. So I think this will be the final book that I do finish for this vlog. I'm only about 50 pages in, but this is kind of like a shorter book. I'm hoping to get another maybe like 25 pages done before I go to bed tonight. And then tomorrow is the official start of holiday hell, so they're definitely going to be sprints, so I'll have plenty of time to read during those. So the only other thing to bring up, gotta turn some lights on, is we do have another guest, and it is a returning guest, little girl Moose. Hello. Hello. How you doing, girl? Yeah, unfortunately, Moose's owners have given her up for adoption. She was not doing well in her current home, so they had to make the tough decision that was best for her, to kind of come by and find a better permanent home that matches with her better. So it's not the best circumstances, but I'm just leaving her here for tonight so that she has a safe space to like kind of explore and like make her own, and then release her. I kind of tried just letting her roam free right away, and it did not work super well. Everyone was kind of stalking her, so yeah. So hopefully that's okay. We're gonna get her actually finally fixed, and then she's gonna get all of her vaccinations, and yeah. Then she'll be off to get donated. Maybe she'll be a lovely Christmas present for somebody. More like reindeer instead of moose. Anyways, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Aw, yes, you're a good girl. Okay, so I did not update at all today. This is December 1st, the start of Holiday Hellathon. And yes, I finished my first book. I did manage to finish Predator Cold War today. I was doing opening sprints with Kelsey for most of the day, and I only ended, when we ended the sprints, I had about 60 pages left, and I was like, haha, that'll be easy. But then I was like, oh, I forgot we stopped at 10 p.m. And I've been going to bed at like 9 p.m. lately, so it's 11:30, so that's a lot later than I have been up lately. But it's kind of good because I want to get back into the habit of going to bed a little later and then getting up at a normal time. Anyways, this was I really like this book. I think the comic that this is based on was okay. I would have to reread the comic, which I actually think I'm going to do start of next vlog is to reread some of those this comic specifically. And I did like this probably a little bit better than I liked Concrete Jungle, which is by the same author. Just because I think it's a little bit more of an interesting story. It's hard to say. Like what happens here is a predator ship crash lands in Siberia, and there is a race between the Russians and the Americans to see if they can recover the ship and find out and use all of the aliens' technology. And there is a Russian lady who is like in charge of the army battalion out at this outpost, and then you have Mike Schaefer, which is Dutch Schaefer's brother, and Dutch is the Arnold Schwarzenegger from the first movie, and he was the star of the last book. So they have him along to send him to Siberia on a very secret mission to see if they can undercover the things. And what's cool about this book is that it's not very jingoistic, actually. Like you would expect, especially a book about the Cold War, to be very much like pro-American. And what's kind of fun about this is that the idea is that like both countries, like their leadership is really shit and are like terrible people, and it always comes to the little people who like just try to exist in the society and who don't have the power, who have to band together to ensure that neither of their countries take advantage of this technology to do horrible things to cause the death of millions. Like they don't care about what they do. A country will fail you, but the people will not. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, obviously, like this is a Predator book. This is like a fun little action book. But like the ideas that are kind of at the core of this is something that I do actually believe in. Especially if you look at just the political hellscape that we kind of find ourselves in a lot of times. Politicians are not our friends and don't actually seem to help the common people. So it was kind of it was a fun book in that way, that it was just had like some good action and a good set piece and some cool monster fights, and then also it did have a cool message, I think. I mean, obviously, this like it's like a Predator book, and like it's like probably like a little bit too flippant. But either way, I did have just a good time with this, and yeah, I really do enjoy this book. This is pretty good. I only actually have now, I think I have 4 Predator books to read, and then I've completed everything, not including Alien versus Predator. So if you include that, then I have about 7 books to read. But yeah, so I have the Predator and Predator 2 novelizations. Oh, I also have the AVP novelization, which I'm going to read later. And then there's Predator Big Game, which is the other book in this, like the Dark Horse collection. And then the only Dark Horse Press Predator book I still need to read is Predator Forever Midnight, which I hear is pretty bad, but I don't know, it's kind of interesting. So, yeah, I'm almost done all the Predator books, which is kind of wild. But yeah, this was a great read. Very cold, like Nathan Archer captures the cold extremely well, and I was like, damn, damn, it's cold. I'm feeling cold. And it was actually taking place in the winter. So it was a good thematic read. I did start reading this last year, but I didn't end up finishing it. So I'm glad I finished it this year. So yeah, that is the end of this vlog. And I will talk to you guys later. Goodbye.